Welcome to another virtual town hall held by the members of the Board of County Commissioners. I'm Dylan Blaylock with Clackamas County's Public and Government Affairs Department, and I'll be coordinating public comments for tonight's meeting. Joining us tonight are Chair Tootie Smith and Commissioners Sonia Fisher, Paul Savas, and Mark Scholl. My thanks to all of you for being here. Commissioner Martha Schrader could not be here tonight. She is traveling and representing the board at a series of meetings hosted by the National Association of Counties. She's interested in learning more about childcare needs of the county's parents and providers. She will watch the recording of this meeting. I'll also note at the onset that Commissioner Scholl is with us until around 6:30 tonight, when he must log off for another meeting as well. Tonight's topic is childcare, concerns and needs. The event will go until about 7 p.m. or until we run out of comments and questions, whichever comes first. The session will be archived to YouTube. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Chair Tootie Smith, who will give us some welcoming comments. Madam Chair.
Thank you, Dylan, and thanks to all the members of the public for joining us tonight on this latest town hall with Clackamas County Commissioners. The topic of childcare is an important one to this board. We'll hear in a moment how extensive the lack of childcare opportunities is throughout the entire state. But it's not hard to see why this issue is critical to our county. If you look at the county's overarching strategic plan, Performance Clackamas, only 5 strategic priorities is to grow a vibrant economy. Part of that priority specifies that future prosperity of county residents will be built on good paying jobs that support families. But if a lack of affordable care options is the reality for our residents, then that makes it tougher to go to work, and that's a serious problem. Additionally, most childcare providers' positions are low wage and even poverty level, meaning that they are not good paying jobs that are attractive and viable for most people. Further, another board priority is to ensure safe, healthy, and secure communities. That priority relays that a focus on the well-being of our families and communities reflects the best of our character. And if our children do not have all the nurturing space to go, then that's a problem. As you may know, Clackamas County is taking a lead role in addressing this issue. The Early Learning Hub of Clackamas County is currently tasked with coordinating enrollment of children in preschool families earning 200% of the federal poverty level and below. There are 16 early learning hubs in Oregon. They are made up of a wide range of community partners interested in increasing and improving early learning. County employees coordinate and staff the Clackamas County Hub. These hubs support programs for children, prenatal through 6, and their families. For more information on the hub and how to apply, please visit Early Learning Hub of Clackamas County.org and select Preschool Promise. We'll put that address in the chat. Dylan's doing that now. Please also know that the Early Learning Hub is conducting a rain boot giveaway called Make a Splash, where you can also learn about the county's early learning efforts. Tomorrow, staff will be at the Milwaukee Leding Library from 3 to 7 p.m. For more dates and locations, please visit getpreppedclackamas.com/splash. We'll also put that in the chat. Commissioners want to be sure that all the residents have access to what they need. Tonight, we need to hear your concerns and experiences. We usually get many questions during these events. If we don't respond directly to your question, please don't take it as a sign that we don't care, because we do care. We just want to hear from as many people as possible. At the end, each commissioner will have an opportunity to present their comments. And with that, Dylan, I'm going to pass it back to you.
All right. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. A little background first here on one aspect of the child care availability problem in the county and the state. In 2019, an Oregon State University report showed that even back then, all Oregon counties were considered child care deserts. That's defined as a region where there are more than 3 children for every single child care space or slot in a program. This includes both family child care homes and centers. We're going to add a link to the report in the chat right now as well. But in looking at some of the numbers in the OSU report. And again, this was in 2019 before the pandemic. And I'll go ahead and share my screen just real quickly. There we go. In table 1 here, Clackamas County was well under the 33% threshold number for infant care and the 3 to 5 year old care. We're not alone in this. Again, every Oregon resident lives in a childcare desert under this metric. And we also know that since the pandemic began, many childcare programs have shut down. An estimated 18% of childcare programs in Clackamas County have permanently closed since this study was conducted. So it's already a dire situation, which is getting bad, getting worse. And further, when looking at the publicly funded slots for low-income families in the same age group, Clackamas County, again, does not have as many slots as it needs. And again, we put that in the link to that report if you are interested in the chat. By no means, though, do we mean to relay that childcare issues only affect this age group. Of course, a lack of after-school care for those in elementary and middle schools affect resident ability to work as well. The Oregon Employment Department has found that COVID-19 has caused major interruptions in education and childcare, leaving many parents without available care outside of the home. Labor force participation among parents declined in 2020, and the decline was concentrated among parents of children ages 6 to 17. And you can read about that in the chat. We will share that one as well right now. So tonight, the board is interested in hearing, I'll share my screen one more time, bear with me. Do you have childcare needs currently? What have been the challenges in getting care? And if you currently have childcare, what is working? What challenges have you had? If you are or would like to become a childcare provider, are you having any challenges that need to be addressed? If you recently left the childcare profession, why was that? Is there anything that could make you return? And what overarching issues involving childcare should commissioners know about? I'm also going to note that Clackamas County's Children, Family, and Community Connections Director, Dr. Adam Freer, is with us in the background in case commissioners would like to bring him in to provide more information. And the last little bit is a little housekeeping. Please know that we do our best to get through as many questions as possible, and we usually receive a lot of messages. If your question is not addressed and we have received it via the clacco@clackamas.us email box, someone from county staff will respond to you over the next couple business days. You can send in your questions at any time tonight during tonight's event for me to read or after. We will put the clacco@clackamas.us in the chat. And always remember that the board welcomes public comment on matters of policy and issues that relate to the county. If you have further thoughts, you can provide public testimony of up to 3 minutes at business meetings, usually held at 10 a.m. on Thursdays. The business meeting link is also going in the chat. So thank you. You have a lot of information in the chat, lots of good links. And with that, we are going to go to comments. If you're on a Zoom right now and you'd like to provide your comment to the board about this matter, go ahead and hit the raise hand function on Zoom. It will let me know that you'd like to share your experience. If you're on the phone, and we do have some people on the phone, you can hit *9, and that lets me know that you will raise your hand as well. And again, I also have several emails to get through, and I'm happy to do that. But please, if you want to raise your hand to pose your question live, please go right ahead. But seeing none to begin with, we have a decent amount of people on, but nobody wants to go first. That's fine. I'm going to go ahead and go to one of the emails that we have. The first comes from Allison in Sandy. Hello, I am the mother of a 14-week-old infant in Sandy. Our childcare options in this part of the county are very different from people who live closer to the metro area. We only have one local daycare option that isn't in-home. I was put on their list 10 weeks ago for my daughter to be able to stay there starting at 12 weeks. They do not have room for her with their infant group, though, so my husband and I are having to take care of her while working from home. Most of the childcare options seem to struggle with providing enough staff to comply with safety standards. I do not think the staff ratios should be lowered to meet those standards, but I do think that Clackamas should consider subsidizing childcare or staffing to make it easier for parents to meet their childcare needs and facilities to provide safe care. Again, that is from Allison in Sandy. And I'll mention again, we do have, we have a decent amount of people on, but nobody's is raising their hand. You can raise your hand by hitting the raise hand button on the top or bottom of your device. And there we go. We do have somebody. Okay, we're going to go to Rebecca Bjorn. Rebecca, if you could go ahead and unmute yourself. You are on with Clackamas County Commissioners. Go right ahead. If you could identify yourself in your area and keep your comments to under 3 minutes. Thank you.
So I am coming from Colton, Oregon. I had a baby actually the day of the pandemic starting, and I basically had to kind of resign from my job, not being able to find childcare when it was time to return to work. That would take my 3-year-old as well as my infant at the time. And then when I could finally find care, childcare rates had gone up so high that basically I'd be working to pay for childcare. And that's only having 2 children and the options that are available to subsidize, like the hubs that the early learning hubs, I think those are great options, but they're not for 9-to-5 jobs, which is a majority of what people work is 9-to-5 jobs. And I'm sure that there's lots of us that also work other hours and whatnot, but finding childcare that would fit in that 9-to-5 is a struggle.
Was that it, Rebecca? I'm sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you if you're still going.
I think that's it. Other than I think finding licensed childcare is super adamant to us. You know, I'm gonna take a little side note that my eldest daughter was involved in a daycare fatality 3 years ago, and she was a 4-year-old at the time, so it wasn't your typical infant dies from being smothered in pillows. She was a 4-year-old that died in a daycare fatality. So I think licensed daycares are super important, and they're not out there anymore.
Thank you, Rebecca. I'm sorry to hear that, of course, and thank you for sharing that. Okay. Next, we are going to go to, I don't have a name with the handle. The handle looks like D Bittenat. D Bittenat, if that's you. Just one second. There we go. If you can go ahead and unmute yourself. And yep, there we go. And if you can identify who you are, where you're calling from, and you have 3 minutes with commissioners. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Daniel Bitznat. I live in, well, it's technically unincorporated, but I live behind the Happy Valley sign. So we have an infant on the way coming at the end of November. And, you know, we're going to be looking for childcare. My wife works in Vancouver, and, you know, we're definitely concerned about the cost. One thing that came to mind was, like, the school districts already have many facilities for their elementary schools. Would it be difficult for the county to interface with these school districts to create add-ons for daycare? Because many parents of school-age children and infants, you know, they're already taking them to school. Would it be so difficult to build onto that infrastructure and have licensed daycare personnel at the schools? That way it's a one-stop shop. That was just an idea that I had. That's it.
All right. Thank you very much for that. I think it was Daniel. Thank you very much, Daniel. Appreciate that. We've got another hand up. Actually, before I go to Troy, just give me 1 second, Troy. I'm going to read another one of the emails that came in. This one from Linda. As the grandparent and backup child provider for a toddler whose parents both work in education in Clackamas County schools, I've seen up close and personal the struggle to get reliable, safe childcare. Getting childcare for the fall return to classrooms was a nightmare. Their previous childcare provider had changed their policy and no longer accepted children under the age of 3. Their child is 2. My daughter called 15 providers before finally getting a spot. Clearly, there's a lack of available childcare. Providers need to be paid more to attract good employees. Parents can't afford to spend more on childcare. It already costs more money than many entry-level jobs pay. Higher wages for both providers and working parents would help. Government subsidies for providers could also help. Children are our future. They deserve safe, reliable care. Again, that is from Linda. Thank you very much, Linda, for the email. And with that, we will go to Troy. Troy, go ahead and you can unmute yourself. Very good. If you could let us know where you're calling from, and you're on with Commissioners for 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you for hearing me. I am a childcare owner in Canby, and I have been in Wilsonville and Canby for the last 20 years, and just wanted to echo a lot of what people are saying, how difficult it is to keep staff, keep them trained and paid. And I know firsthand that we've been increasing wages, we've been increasing benefits, but all of that cost gets passed on to the parents. And we've increased our rates more in the last 3 years since the minimum wage has been increasingly going up. And that needs to get passed on to the parents. And unfortunately, we're pricing out, the regular working families. And now you have to be either incredibly wealthy to be able to afford us, especially with multiple kids, or you have to be on government assistance to make it worth paying as much as we have to charge to pay our employees. The only thing that I can think that has helped with things like the PPP programs are to help pay the employees more, make it an attractive job, because it is a difficult job watching 50, 60, I have 110 kids at the center. It is a difficult job. And the more that we pay our staff, which they deserve, the more we have to increase our rates to be able to afford to do that. I turn 5 to 8 kids away every single week because we don't have enough staff to take the children. The subsidy idea, I think, is the most effective. If you put caps, if I were to receive assistance to pay specifically my employees, I would accept caps on the rates that I can charge the parents. And I believe that's the only way to help the situation that we're in, is to have standards raised to receive the subsidy, but also cap how high we can charge per family, per child, or anything like that, because I don't need any extra funds for myself. I need to pass them on to the employees. And with any grants that I've received, it's gone all straight to employees in the forms of bonuses, because I can't raise their hourly wages now and then take it away later when those subsidies goes away. So my thought would be to be a permanent subsidy that goes directly to the employees of childcares, and not necessarily to people like myself, the owners, to then be able to choose how to give the money away. And so that was my feelings.
Okay. Thank you very much for that, Troy. We appreciate the perspective and the comment, really do. Okay, our lines are open. So again, if any of the attendees would like to raise your hand, I can go ahead and call on you. For the moment, I'll go back to a couple of the emails we have received. One is from Candace. I look forward to the topic. I am a child care provider that provides care for approximately 170 students in grades kindergarten through 5 and early childhood care for approximately 60 children. I have not been able to find enough workers to cover the needs of our community. I get calls nearly daily asking to enroll another child, and I do not have enough staff members to provide this care. I have tried multiple ways to recruit staff, and after 2 months, still have no applicants. Beyond finding staff to provide this service, I think it is important to note that child care staff do not earn a livable wage. They are often compensated at lesser wages than McDonald's, and they have a much larger responsibility. Wages and insurance benefits are a huge barrier to recruitment, but not the only barrier. Again, that is from Candace. So we thank Candace for that. Call lines are still open. Everyone is welcome to hit the raise hand button. If you're on the phone, please hit *9. Next up, there's a couple of short ones here. Claudia in Lake Oswego. Some years back, when my son's father declined to provide support, I attempted to find a job, but my boy was too young to attend school or be left home alone. At the time, I did not have the job skills that would allow me to earn more than a babysitter. After I paid her, there would be nothing left for rent and food. As a result, I spent a year on public assistance. The government could have saved money by paying for childcare. So that was from Claudia in Lake Oswego. Let me see. Another one from Daniel. How does the county incentivize toddler and infant care centers to keep costs of families lower? If none, would it consider it as a policy to benefit to many Clackamas County families? Thank you. Again, that was Daniel. How does the county incentivize toddler and infant care centers? Okay, I see we do have some hands that have gone up. So first I'm gonna go to, it's a phone caller. So if your phone ends in 327, go ahead and unmute yourself. You should be prompted on how to do that, but I believe it's *9. If you're the caller that ends in 327, we can't hear you, but you need to hit, I believe it's *9 to unmute. Oh, *6, sorry. Thank you, Garrett. *6 to unmute. There we go. I think we can hear you. Go ahead.
Sorry, I literally just joined this meeting, but I had read kind of the article on, and it was on childcare. I recently was just trying to find childcare. One thing, I'm not sure if this is like open for suggestions or exactly what the meeting is, but for retail, it's super hard to find child daycare that is open later. So I don't know if that's something. Did anyone have suggestions or ideas?
Okay, thanks very much for that. What was your name?
My name's Angel.
Angel. Okay. Well, thanks very much, Angel. We appreciate the call in. Next, we're going to go to Cassie S. Cassie, if you could go ahead and unmute yourself. There we go. And
yeah, hi.
Hi. Go ahead and provide
Thank you
your name
guys
and your
so
area.
much.
Great.
I'm Cassie. I'm a public health nurse. Actually, I work in our maternal child health program within the county. And I really appreciate you guys putting on this forum. I have been talking to my clients, and childcare seems to come up in almost every single visit that I have as a barrier to people getting employment or keeping their employment. It has been especially hard with COVID. And I think I'm just going to kind of echo what we've already heard, is that there just isn't enough providers to provide high quality infant care. A big population that I serve are children with special health care needs, and we don't have providers that can safely and confidently provide care for these kiddos, especially when we're considering infants who have special feeding needs and those kinds of things. And I have parents who have great jobs and want to work, but are really limited in their ability because they cannot find care in their area that can meet their child's needs. And additionally, like the last speaker just said, the extended hours. A lot of our families are shift workers. And so you have people who are working at 4 a.m. and nobody is open at 4 a.m. to provide care. So we have people who are finding less than ideal childcare providers who can babysit for them while they're at work. And it adds to a lot of anxiety and a lot of mental health concerns that I see within my clients, that they don't know if their kids are getting the care that they deserve and should have. Thank you all. I appreciate the space.
Thank you, Cassie. We have another hand up, which is great. If you want to go ahead and pose a question or make your comment and provide your experience to Clackamas County Commissioners, please go ahead and hit the raise hand button that might be on the top or bottom of your device, depending on what you are using. We're going to go to Anna Summer. Anna, if you can go ahead and unmute yourself. There you go. And please just put your name and where you're from, and you're on for 3 minutes. Thank you.
There. Yeah, my name is Anna Summer. I heard Cassie, my colleague, so I got brave and thought I'd raise my hand too. I am actually picking up my daughter right now from daycare, so I'll make this brief. I work in public health as well. And I just wanted to say, like, some of the lowest hanging fruit, I think, is around parental leave. If we're going to go even more upstream, the longer parents can stay home with their kids as soon as they're born, the better for everybody. And the fact that Clackamas County employees don't have paid parental leave makes a big difference. As a new mom with a child who's about to turn 2, it was a challenge to go out and find a daycare so quickly following my maternity leave. So it's just something I'd like to advocate for. And there's my daughter advocating for it as well. It means a lot to the employees and would make a huge difference for, I think, a lot of people if we could set the example with paid parental leave. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for that, Anna. Appreciate it. Okay. We're welcome to take some more live calls and questions or comments. So just go ahead and raise hand if you would like. I will go through some more of the emails that we have received. This is from Amanda. My apologies to Amanda. I had to shorten the email. It was very lengthy, but I wanted to go ahead and try to grab as much as I could. Where do I start? I live in a very affluent part of Clackamas County. As a resident of West Lynn, we have kept our jobs throughout COVID-19 and as a working mother. I had a position where my boss valued the idea of family first and subscribed to the CARES Act, allowing me to still receive my full pay, but reduced my hours to 25 hours a week in the early part of the pandemic in school. With that said, this has been impossible. You ask, do we have childcare needs currently and what have been the challenges? Yes, I currently need childcare. School is a rat race to get into the system, and cross your fingers that you get a spot. It is insanely expensive, although the teachers do their best, and I can appreciate that they also need fair wages. Summer care is something you have to start to plan in February, register in March, and the majority of the funds are required in full at the time of registration. My summer care for my 2 children is $4,000 for 3 months, and that only allows me an 8 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. day of work, as aftercare after 3 p.m. is $20 an hour per child. So again, that was Amanda, and thank you, Amanda. Okay, also, some of these were longer, but we did have to cut them down. This one is from Britt. Hello, as a single working parent, I can say that there is a complete disconnect within this country for childcare. The issues are, first, the cost of childcare is exorbitant and sometimes prohibitive. There are parents that I know who would like to work, but after paying daycare costs, they would literally have less than $100 at the end of the month. Second, usually childcare times work for white collar or knowledge workers, Monday through Friday from morning to evening, but do not address the needs of parents who work outside of those times in the service, construction, cleaning, and other low income industries. Third, not all providers offer educational times such as preschool activities or homework help. Some do. Having more of a consistent program would help disadvantaged children whose parents cannot afford the extra programs or cannot take the time to transport children to other programs because of their job restrictions. While there's assistance for those who qualify for SNAP and other benefits, there are a great number of parents who make too much but barely scrape by because they still make too little to realistically make ends meet. And finally, what to do with children if they are sick, but the parent needs to go to work. Can daycares have sick rooms? This is a huge issue for parents. So again, those are the thoughts from Britt. And Britt, we thank you for that. I'm still not seeing any hands up, but people are welcome to go ahead and put your hands up if you would like to pose your question in real time. This is from Becca. Licensed daycares are becoming extremely difficult to find with and without availability. What is happening to make becoming licensed over exempt being a more enticing or practical option for home providers? Here in rural Colton, we currently have 0 licensed daycare options for our children. Having a licensed daycare helps protect our kids more extensively than a simple exempt one. But we have to source outside our community or settle for exempt. Our community already forever lost a 4-year-old in one of these exempt daycare options, so this is a pertinent issue that still remains unresolved 3 years later. So again, that is from Becca. Let me see. Let me check if we have any other emails that have come in. None in real time. You are always welcome, Garrett, if you could share in the chat where people can send their message if they would like to go ahead and me to read it as opposed to I'm talking live. That would be fine. Well, commissioners, we are whipping through this. I have one more email to read. It's the one I saved for last because it's a bit longer. We'll see if we have any after this. Oh, I did see, you know what? Hands are going up. We will go ahead and go to some hands. First up, Darcy. Darcy, if you could go ahead and unmute yourself. There we go. If you could say who you are, where you're calling from, or zooming from, pardon, and go ahead and you have 3 minutes.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the focus of this meeting. I am happy to represent Clackamas County Children's Commission. I'm the executive director. For those of you who may not know, although I believe the commissioners do, we provide programs for children and families, including early Head Start, and Healthy Families. And we provide it in a multitude of ways, including part-day classrooms, full-day classrooms, and our full-day classrooms are both for infants and toddlers as well as preschoolers. And then we have a strong home visiting component, including Healthy Families and early Head Start. As you're likely aware, Head Starts are funded to serve children 0 to 100% of poverty. We are currently under-enrolled by 40%, which is unusual, in Head Start, but we're fully enrolled in early Head Start, which serves children prenatal to 3. So I first want to echo the sentiments that there is not enough infant and toddler care in the county. We have 150 funded slots and we could easily fill another 100 due to the need. But I also want to echo that even if I was able to secure the funding to serve more infants and toddlers, we have been on the search for more classroom space for the past 2 years and have been unsuccessful in being able to secure space that was either able to be permitted through the county to become a childcare site, or if it had the appropriate spaces to have developmentally appropriate childcare. So space is definitely also at the top of my list, along with my partners who have already spoke. As I stated, we're currently under-enrolled in the Head Start program. And while I do believe that some of that under-enrollment in Head Start, again, serving 3 to 5 years old, is due to the pandemic, and some parents are still just hesitant to access care, we also think that the increase in minimum wage, so families who used to qualify for our services are making just over the limit for us to care for them. So these families are still struggling. Our 0 to 100% of poverty means that a family of 4 has to make less than about $27,000 a year. So if they make $28,000, they can't qualify for our services, and they're struggling to find even housing that they can afford, let alone childcare. So I also want to echo my partner's suggestion that there's definitely a need for a voucher system of some kind to help these families who don't qualify for federal or state funded programs, but who still have a real need. One place where that need is met is in the preschool promise programs, which can serve up to 200% of poverty, so double what we can serve. However, I'm a little bit concerned about the coordination of that. I do know that about half of the children enrolled in preschool promise right now could be eligible for Head Start. So we could be serving them so that more children in the 101 to 200% of poverty that are just over our limits could be served by preschool promise. So I definitely think there's a need for
Darcy,
more.
Darcy, we are at 3 minutes if you want to.
Okay, on the coordination of those programs. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for that, Darcy. Appreciate it. I do have another hand up. We'll go to Megan in 1 second. You are always welcome to raise your hand if you want to get in and ask a question to commissioners. I'm going to go over one more time the questions that we set out for today. Do you have childcare needs currently? What have been the challenges in getting care? If you currently have childcare, what is working? What challenges have you had? If you are or would like to become a childcare provider, are you having any challenges that need to be addressed? If you recently left the childcare profession, why was that? And is there anything that could make you return? And what overarching issues involving childcare should commissioners know about? With that, we're going to go to Megan Mumoa. I'm sorry, I think I'm going to say that wrong. Megan, go ahead and unmute yourself. And there we go. My apologies if I got the last name. Yes, we can hear you. Go right ahead. But if you can say where you're from, and you're on for 3 minutes.
Okay. I'm from Oregon City, and I actually am a single mother of 2. I have a daughter who's 4, and I have a son who's 7 and in school right now. I luckily can get ERDC, which is help for childcare, but it was a complete struggle to find that for both a 7 and a 4-year-old. I wanted to keep them in the same spot because I'm a single mom working You know, as a vet assistant, and I'm not the normal hours that childcare is open. The childcares around here are not open past 5 or 6 o'clock, and they had to limit their hours due to COVID. So I've had to limit my hours at work, which puts strain on single parents that can't afford to cut their hours. I have tried to look for weekend childcares, and there's nothing around here that has any availability. I actually just had an orientation for the Head Start program today. Luckily, I qualify, and I had to decline that because the hours for my daughter would only be from 8 to 11:30. And there's no way that I could, I would have to stop working in order to take my daughter to Head Start, which completely negates the whole point of having a program like Head Start. And unfortunately, they don't have an afternoon availability, and they don't have a full day availability in my area. So that's kind of the state of childcare around here in my experience with it.
Thank you for that, Megan. We appreciate the comment and the perspective. Okay, I have 2 emails to go through, one very quick and one long. And then after that, if we don't have any, great, we got another hand up. I'll just relay a different email from, I think, a different Megan real quickly. I strongly support Clackamas County to follow Multnomah County's lead in providing universal pre-K to all Clackamas County residents, or advocate for this statewide. An email we got from Megan. Okay, and we're gonna go to Vicky Bellicosa. Vicky, my apologies if I said the name wrong. You can go ahead and unmute yourself, and you're going to be on. There we go. Please identify yourself and where you're from, and you're on for 3 minutes.
Hi. First of all, I want to apologize. I'm what they call a certified family childcare provider here in Estacada, and I didn't get off work until 6 o'clock, so I couldn't tell my families that you guys have just heard these stories about, say, hey, can you get out of my face? Can you get out of my house? I got to go talk to Clackamas County. So all of the stories that I did hear, I'm just going to tell you, is heartbreaking. I know that it might be news and first time hearing for some of you. It is so true. All of these stories are so accurate. I myself, trying to answer the need here in Estacada, have been trying for about 12 years now, 12 to 15 years, to find a building, a facility, or something to expand daycare in Estacada that could be, the dream of all dreams for parents and school, for the school, for grandparents, for everything. I keep calling it the Fred Meyer's one-stop shopping, that, you have an area that can house several infants, not just 2 or 3, that have sufficient staff that can support the breastfeeding moms, that the early learning division, wants to support that. And I keep just coming up against money. I don't know if anybody's familiar with the old a Fish and Wildlife building here in Estacada. It just recently sold for in the neighborhood of $2 million. I almost had that owner that lives in the Midwest somewhere almost willing to carry the contract for 30 years. Can you imagine that? But there was no way I was going to get the codes up to have that, the zoning codes. And so I had to give up on that. And I have looked at several buildings here in and around Estacada, trying to keep them on the bus line for the families with lower income. And I would like this daycare to support everybody. If you're fortunate enough to be a generous 2-income home, great, you can come to this daycare. If you are with Preschool Promise, or if you need Head Start, you know what? You can actually go to this daycare, because they're going to be working with those 2 facilities, or Todos Juntos here that works with the school district. I mean, it's almost like the creme de la creme of daycare. We can serve those with the lower income. We can serve those with the higher income. And every time I turn around, it's either money or zoning codes. And
Vicki, we
or I
got
could
about
put
3
my own
minutes.
house up for collateral, but that would be crazy.
Right.
So
that is 3 minutes, Vicki. So thank you very much for that. We very much appreciate the perspective and the comment. Okay, next we're going to go to Michelle Stroh. Michelle, if you can go ahead and unmute yourself. You're going to have 3 minutes with Clackamas County Commissioners. If you can go ahead and give your name and your area. Oh, Michelle, I see that you did unmute yourself, but we can't hear you.
How's that?
There we go. Go right ahead.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Michelle Stroh, and I'm here in Oregon City. And I just wanted to pop on and give a provider's insight. I am an in-home certified for the last 30 years in Clackamas County. And I am one of a handful of us that did do childcare throughout the entire pandemic. I increased my hours to help people, but I think bottom line, we're just tired. We work a 12-hour day. You get 2 hours aftercare to get the house cleaned up again, sanitize, prep for the next day, and then still try to find staff. So for myself, my hardest thing is the college kids that turn over and go to different colleges, which is a great job for a college student. But again, having enough to provide for them and also keep my rates down so that we can keep the parents so they're not struggling so bad. But I get calls daily and I don't have any more room to help with the need that we have in Clackamas County. So we're trying, we just don't have it. I don't know what else to do to help you guys out too, because, after a 14-hour day, 5 days a week, I live for Saturdays. And then you start all over again. So we're here to help if we can. We've got to figure out some way to get it all on the same level. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Appreciate that. Okay, next we're going to go to Amber Walker. Amber, if you can go ahead and unmute yourself and provide your name, your area, and you're on for 3 minutes. I do not see that you've unmuted yourself. There we go. Go right ahead.
I'm Amber. I'm in Milwaukee. I am a single mother of she's 15 months now. And the issue I face with childcare is I'm in this bracket where I make too much for any services, but not enough to survive. And so I have to depend on childcare that it's not ideal. And it would be nice if there were services that were provided to, that sort of bracket, as well as the job I work. I'm a drug and alcohol counselor at a methadone clinic, and my hours start at 5:30. So even for services that are around, there's nothing that starts that early. So that's where I fall. And it would be nice if there were more options available to me, because, I already, there's no way I could afford an apartment by myself. I have to have a roommate. I don't know how I sit where I sit in general as far as services provided, or that are available. But I just kind of sit right in that bracket where, again, I make too much to qualify for basically anything, but not enough to survive. That's all I got.
Thank you for that, Amber. Thank you very much for calling in and sharing your perspective. Okay, we are going to go next to another hand that's up. It's Patricia Yamal Soto. So Patricia, if you could go ahead and unmute yourself. There we go. Provide your name, your area, and you're on for 3 minutes. Thank you.
Yes, hi. Thank you for this opportunity. Patricia Yamal Soto. I'm a family resource coordinator. I work with the Early Learning Hub. And the area that I work is in the North Clackamas School District, which is pretty large. So I echo some of the, opinions in terms of one of the huge barriers for the families that I work, mostly families of color, people of color, are the hours. Most of them do work in the service industry and factories. So the hours that they work do not match with the availability, the little availability of childcare. Preschool Promise has been a great start, but one of the things that I find is that we need more locations, accessible locations in terms of transportation. In the area where I work, we have 2 locations. One is in Happy Valley, 130, 140 something, close to Sunnyside, which is not accessible by bus. And the other one is in Milwaukee and in Gladstone. So I have a lot of families that live in the area of 82nd that still Happy Valley, but they do not have that access. So increasing the numbers and the subsidies and, trying to find more locations, more accessible locations for the Preschool Promise would be something great. And the other thing that I was thinking is, I don't know what are the efforts that are being made to try to probably partner with colleges, Clackamas Community College, to help people of color to get, to study and how to get to be a childcare provider, a certified childcare provider. So that's something that I see the need, especially because the few places that are childcare providers, they do not speak other languages. I mostly work with Spanish-speaking parents. And even though the kids might speak English, but the parents don't, and communication between the childcare providers and the family is very, very tough. So that's why there's, some, even if they have a childcare provider close by, they have that barrier that cannot be overcome. So yeah, that's all that I have for now. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for sharing that, Patricia. We appreciate it. Okay, I'm going to go through that last longer email that I have, but you're always welcome to go ahead and put your hands up, raise the hand in the Zoom function, and we can get to you after. This was from Molly in Lake Oswego. Hello, dear commissioners. As a single parent that's raised my child since she was 3, she's almost 16 now, all of my career options have been directly linked to my ability to have childcare. I've forgone promotions and higher pay because the hours couldn't work with my child's needs at various times in her life. I've been fortunate in having my parents or a village of moms to help when they can, but they're a limited resource option, and what many people need is consistency. So my testimony is based on years of trying to figure out how to meet the needs of my employers and the needs of my daughter, which was a constant hassle until she herself could drive. From my experience, a lot of childcare focus seems to be on the ages of 3 months to 6 years. Childcare options need to shift into options for children in elementary school whose parents can't leave work to pick them up and take them to another activity. There needs to be more activities, resources, and services for kids who could stay after school when they're in school. Things like making sure that the kids get a healthy snack, can participate in after-school activities, get help with reading and math, or just play until their parent picks them up. The challenge, of course, for parents with school-age kids is that when summer rolls around, it's a nightmare to find enough all day, that is 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. activities. There's activities for half days or a couple of hours, but very few all-day camps that don't cost a fortune. If that's not bad enough, the camps are only for a week at a time, so a parent ends up paying a lot of money for all these different camps, and it basically blows out their budget, not to mention they have to remember which week it is that their kid is signed up for which camp. Please encourage more clubs and outdoor activities for middle school kids. These are witching ages, which left to their own devices, they can find trouble easily. My daughter was able to get into rowing when she turned 12, and it's been a godsend for me, and it's been a rock for her. She practices every day from 4 to 6:30, rain or shine, year round, and has a whole new set of peers that she sees every day that share the same enthusiasm for the sport that she has. It was the only sport that didn't completely shut down during the COVID closures, which kept the kids engaged when they couldn't see each other. I would love to see Clackamas County provide low-cost transportation options to these organizations, as well as scholarships to pay for the fees for these outdoor activity programs so that more kids whose families have limited means and transportation options can participate. Thank you for taking the time. I hope that my experience and suggestions are useful. Again, that was Molly in Lake Oswego. Molly, we thank you for your email. If there are no other hands, and I do not see any being raised. Oh, I do see one, and we'll probably go to Kathy in a second, but Madam Chair, it is close to 6:25. Do you want to maybe kick it to Commissioner Shull?
Yeah, Commissioner Shull, you need to leave for another meeting. Would you like to present your comments now?
Yes, thank you, Chair Smith, and thank you, Dylan Blaylock, for another outstanding town hall. You know, it's been 25 years since I had children in daycare, and I remember back then it was very expensive. Tonight has been a real eye-opener for me. I knew this was a problem. I had no idea the extent of the problem. And the callers, the things you've expressed, your concerns tonight, this is no small problem to solve. Now, we've heard several people talk about the idea of subsidizing payroll for daycare workers, others about voucher systems to help offset the cost of daycare. I'm not sure where the money's going to come from, but I can tell you, I can assure you that I'm going to be looking at this myself and looking at ways that we can bring some relief to the working parents of this county. You know, this issue affects quality of life, and it's as serious a problem as transportation and housing. And I thank you all for your input this evening. Thanks again, Dalen. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Go ahead, Dylan. Thanks a lot.
Okay. We're going to go to another hand that is raised. It is from Kathy Vouse. Oh, 1 second. Oh, Kathy, I'm sorry. We get this problem occasionally. We have a different, you are using an older version of Zoom than we have. This happens occasionally at the business meetings. I'm sorry, I'm not able to bring you over. It just doesn't allow me to do it. So I'm sorry, I wish we could bring you over, but it's a incompatibility. So, well, I guess this will be last call for any questions from any other members of the audience before I turn it over to Chair Smith and commissioners. Seeing none, Chair, would you like to, I'm going to hand it to you.
Dylan, thanks a lot. I'm going to go ahead and let my commissioners have the floor. Commissioner Savas, would you like to make your comments first?
Sure. I want to just say that this problem is a national problem. It's just from coast to coast. And I'd love to know, I did think I gleaned from one of the callers here today that they provided in-home childcare. And in my earlier years, you know, I knew folks that did in-home childcare and were able to survive as single mothers. And it was a career, I won't say career, but I guess it's essentially became one in and of itself. And I will say it was lucrative, but they were able to afford and pay their mortgage on their home and care for kids. And there's limits to that. There's registered in-home childcare and there's certified in-home childcare, different requirements. But you know, quality childcare, just like learning, is that it's, you know, you have a teacher or you have a childcare provider, the less students you have, the more you can focus on those. So the best care is when you have maybe one care provider per 4 or 5 children versus the state allowance, I believe, which is close to 10, I believe, depending on the ages. But it's a huge problem. And I do know some certified childcare providers that were in the industry, had standalone brick and mortar operations where you went to their place of business and you dropped their child off. And for years, they had shared with me their challenges with the economics and the workforce challenges that they encountered. So it's a problem that is certainly grown in magnitude. And, you know, some of them voiced their concern about caring or having compassion for their customers, knowing that as the minimum wage went up, that they were pricing some of those customers, so to speak, because they were forced to pass on those costs, like the earlier caller had mentioned. And some of those folks get attached to their customers. They get attached to the kids, and it's almost like family. And I think when they're forced to raise those rates and they lose those people, or they lose employees because of that, there's a whole bunch of dynamics to this. So lots said. I would certainly like to know what the national statistics are and the state statistics are, and how much childcare is provided in home, and what the income levels of those providers are. Perhaps there's an opportunity for people that love kids and love to work with kids, perhaps to get in the business of providing in-home childcare. I do know people, again, like I mentioned earlier, I grew up with, that provided that and did very well for themselves, and they love children. So just want to put that out there. I definitely want to learn more on this topic and figure out where the workforce is, because we are facing workforce issues across the spectrum of industries. And this is certainly one of them that's having, a real impact in the family, in the homes, and in this state. So thank you so much for the opportunity, and I appreciate all the input tonight, and we're keeping an eye on it. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner Savas. Commissioner Fisher, you're up.
Thank you, Chair Smith. Thank you, Dylan, and for all of our constituents who spoke and told us your stories tonight. Really appreciate everyone, and for you taking the time. I think that sometimes a pandemic leaves kind of bare what our vulnerabilities are as a community, and we really saw the how fragile our childcare system is, with childcare programs closing in the pandemic and the workforce issues within the childcare industry, and then how truly necessary childcare is so that we can seriously recover from this pandemic and get our economy full and thriving like it needs to be. I was really touched by the stories, from the veterinarian assistant. Now I can't recall her name, but just talking about the hours that you're required to work, and then the daycare doesn't fit those hours. And so what do? Well, you work less, and so you have less economic ability for your family, and there's just more of a struggle. And then the idea that we in this country, and we've done it for years and years and years, we create policies that pinch people right in the middle. When it was Amber who said, I make too much to qualify and too little to survive. That is not okay policy. And we need to call that out when we see it, because there really needs to be a gradual way to transition from needing assistance to not needing assistance. And it can't be a cliff, and that's what it is. And I was just thinking, I've been working on these issues, and I'm looking at Chair Smith, and I know she's been working on these issues. I would say it's been a good 25, 30 years. And then I'm thinking, why haven't we figured this out yet? And you know why? I think it's because the kids grow up, and it doesn't take that long before they grow up, and then we just move on to other things. Or I'm not sure why we haven't figured this out, but it is time. It is time to figure this issue out, and these stories are vital. So Commissioner Schrader now is at a NACO conference where she's able to connect nationally on this issue. We connect with our legislators on a frequent basis, with the governor's staff and with fellow other elected officials from around the region. And there is a group that is coming together that now has 40 members called Childcare. Oh, Adam, you might need to tell me, is it Childcare for All is the name of the group, a grassroots group of people interested in this issue as to what are we going to do in Clackamas County? How are we going to drive our economic engine? Well, it starts with making sure parents don't have to worry about how their kids are doing when they're not with them. We need to know our children are thriving when they're in when they're in childcare, school, wherever they are. So we've got work to do. I'm excited that our community really cares about this issue, and truly it will be through grassroots activism that we will be able to develop the strategies we need to address it. So, hey, Adam, did you want to add something to that?
Yeah, I just appreciate the plug. The county is working very closely with the Clackamas Educational Service District, the ESD, as well as Clackamas Workforce Partnership. We're pulling together a Child Care for All task force, and it will be launching in just a couple of weeks, in October 26th. So this is perfect timing. If you are interested, and we'll put the information in Clacko News. If you're interested in participating, you can send an email to D. Stam Thomas, and I'll put it in the chat. Danny Stam Thomas is our Early Learning Hub Director, and she's collecting the names. We have a couple other representatives, Bridget Daisy, Brett Walker, who are on this call as well. So we are, we appreciate any support, any involvement. This is a very tough nut to crack, as you all have heard. It's difficult, but we have a lot of good minds, and we have a lot of hope. And there's a lot of people around the country that are working to solve this issue. And so we have confidence that we will make progress, and in time we will solve this significant challenge.
Commissioner Fisher, have you finished?
Yes, Chair Smith, thank you so much.
Well, thank you to all my commissioners and all those who have called in. Adequate child care is very near and dear to my heart. How can it not be? And frankly, I have not learned anything new about the problems presented here tonight. As most of the commissioners here, you know, we've all had children, we've experienced this. My child was in 3 different home care settings. It was absolutely wonderful, but I am concerned that regulation has somewhat hampered that and made it more difficult to access. The problems going forward is something that we're going to look at, and I want to send a special appreciation to my 2 commissioners, Schrader and Fisher, for really wanting to roll up their sleeves and dig down and see what we can do at Clackamas County to make this better, because it goes to our workforce issues, and it's so hugely, hugely important. I said I wasn't surprised about anything tonight. It doesn't mean that I wasn't heartfelt when I heard your comments. What I really enjoyed is the providers who took time to call in and say, I tried this and it didn't work, and I tried this and it didn't work. And I just want to like smack somebody, because that's so frustrating to me, so frustrating to me. And so we're going to take a look at this stuff. And, you know, going forward, commissioners, maybe we can start making a list. Is there any low-hanging fruit on regulation, for instance, on home regulation, to get that solved? Affordability is such a big issue. I'm thinking maybe if they're in home, the affordability quotient goes down because they don't have huge brick and mortar costs. But I don't know that. That's just one way to look at it. But let's roll up our sleeves, start making a list, and we'll see what we can do to go forward. I really appreciate everybody's participation. This was extremely heartfelt from everybody here, and great comments. Keep in touch. If you didn't get your questions answered, send an email over to us, and we'll get back to you. Have a good evening. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you all, commissioners. Thank you all for joining us. Have a good night.